There we go. Good evening, everybody. Today is October 24th, 2022. This is a work session. We did have a late addition at the request of the HPC, and it is a work session, so we were able to add it because no action will be taken on that. The HPC will be here to talk about the historic home tour, which is coming again. That was there. Before we start, if you could please take the roll call, Michael.
Mr. Johnston. Here. Mr. Long. Here. Mr. Parker. Here. Ms. Rossetti.
Here.
Ms. Tilley.
Here. I'm here too.
Mr. Lyman.
Here. So good evening. This meeting is being called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of October 24th, 2022 was included in a list of meetings notice of the Huntington County Democrat and Courier News on January 5th, 2022, posted on the bulletin board of our hall on that date and has remained news as posted as required. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the Borough Clerk. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Councilwoman Kim Tilley. She is the HPC liaison, and she'll take the work session from here.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So tonight we have a presentation by Jen Williford and Wendy Richardson, who are on the house tour committee. We plan to bring it back in 2023, and Jen has a wonderful presentation to walk us through some expectations and some requests from the community. Take it away, Jen.
Great, thank you, Councilwoman Tilley. So just for a matter of correction, Wendy Orr, who is also HPC. So for those of you who I don't know, I'm Jen Williford, 41 Pennsylvania Avenue. I came on the Historic Preservation Commission around 2019. And I think if I can be brutally honest, my real intention on coming on that commission was really with the desire and hope we would be able to bring more house tours back. So obviously, we were hit with COVID and that wasn't the right time to introduce house tours, but we've begun our planning stage of what house tours in 2023 will look like. So Mike, if I could just have you. So just a way of introduction, right now sitting on the house tour committee will be Dennis Schob, who will be joining us in just a few moments, who's also a member of the HPC. Wendy Orr, Maria Schob, Dennis's wife, Kristen Cook, and Todd Cook are the ones that have been so willing to commit so far. So the real spirit of the 2023 house tour is really just to get people back visiting Flemington. We're using the house tour as just an excuse because we think we have such beautiful homes and such a warm and welcoming community, but really just to kind of paint the vision for the day for all of you. Obviously, it would be some tours of the homes, but we're really creating this concept of and working with the FCP, the Flemington Community Partnership, to really get people also visiting our shops and our restaurants in town. So we're structuring this as though like a passport. So, you know, sign up for the house tours, but come visit us at Lone Eagle, come shop at the corner. We really think that would just be a really fun way to marry the two events. So the goal really is going to be 6 to 8 homes and 4 buildings. We're well on our way. We already have commitment from a few homeowners as well as 2 or 3 buildings in town. You know, we went off of what they had done in 2016, which was the last time we had house tours here in Flemington. And it looked like they sold approximately 180 tickets. So we thought probably about 250. Although we visited Lambertville's house tours yesterday and they sold 800 tickets, and I'm not a competitive girl, but I'm a competitive girl. And so, and that was a record for them. And that was one of their feedback to us is, you know what, you're going to get more than you expect just because people are so loving these kinds of activities after COVID. So we'll reevaluate that. Dennis is working on some budget numbers and some performance, but you know, we'll say we'll realistically think maybe 250 to 350. And then our goal is really to expand our committee, to engage more of our community members, any of you that want to join us. It will be a lot of work to get this off the ground. There is no doubt, and I think day of, it's like an all hands on deck kind of a day. But I promise, I think it's just going to be an experience and something I think we're really going to be proud. I think we're all right on this cusp of really the next great thing coming down the pike here in Flemington. And this is just a great way to get people visiting our town and get the enthusiasm going. So again, we're going to engage with Robin and the FCP. I think she is definitely bought into this concept. We'll look to her to help us promote the event because of her great mailing list and her social media posts. And then we will look for sponsorships. One of the things we didn't talk about is we really would love to get a trolley to take us to some of the different locations. The trolleys are rather expensive. So we'll look to some bigger sponsors to help sponsor the trolley, the program, the registration, house sponsors, etc. And although I don't think we're saying this is a huge fundraiser for us, I think the promise that we really made to the Historic Preservation Commission is we're sitting on about $10,000 from previous house tours of 2014 and 2016. We would borrow that money with the intent that we would pay back anything that we borrowed. So, and if we make a lot more money, that would be great too. There's Dennis. Everybody say hello to Dennis. So like I said, I think in this year bringing it back and this uncertainty, again, I don't think we're putting a dollar amount to how much we will really raise, but the promise is that we will not take any more than what we're borrowing from our seed money on HPC. So just a very quick timeline. I'm an event planner and I can tell you that I think we're well on track in getting this off the ground. Like I said, we already have some houses confirmed. We obviously are establishing our committee over the next few months. So it will be really important that we work really hard to get these sponsorships in place, recruit some additional committee members, start to have regular meetings, really develop our plan with the FCP, get volunteers and get them trained, develop this house tour passport, and then we'll be, that will be November through May with the ready to roll out the red carpet on June 3rd of 2023. So really our next steps, again, we'll call upon the FCP funds to kind of get us going with the promise that anything we take we'll borrow back or we'll pay back. Obviously, we presented this in front of HPC last month, I think all the commissioners were in full support, but we will look to additional volunteer support, like I said, from either any of you that are interested, anybody that you may know really interested. We did reach out to some of the churches to put them on the tour, and they were thrilled to offer up some of their members of their congregation to help us the day of. So again, I think the more we can engage and enlist the support and really have the buy-in, the better this is going to be. We will continue now every month to once we start rolling with getting regularly scheduled meetings, we will report our progress at HPC each month. And that's really, again, just the volunteer support from the overall community. But before we went any further, we just wanted to make sure we had your support of, town council members and of course you mayor driver. This is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of work, but I think we all sit here so proud of how far Flemington has come and where it's going. And I think this is a really fun way to get our friends and family and members from all over. We talked a little bit about it on the when we were in Lambertville yesterday, and everybody online was like, oh my gosh, we're coming. Will anybody here? It will be there. So I do think we'll draw a great crowd. And again, we're proud of our community, and why would we not just show off our community to everyone? Any questions?
And I did it in 2016. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful. It was a nice walk around town. It was great seeing the inside of some of these beautiful homes we have.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited that it's coming back.
Yay, we're excited. Great. glad to have your support. Anybody, any other questions?
So how are you gonna, you said you're gonna get community, what are you doing to get the community involved?
Well-
Because we may be able to help you with that, because I'm doing some community groups now. So-
Great. So, you know, I think it's really the day of is really the all hands on deck. You know, we'll want to make sure for anybody that does have their home on the tour, if they don't want to do the tour themselves, that they have docents and making sure that the docents are well trained. It was a little bit of our takeaway yesterday when visiting Lambertville's house tours. You really want to make sure that that docent really works with that homeowner and really make sure that they tell the history, make sure that they are protecting and safeguarding the home. So that will really be a very, very big piece of it. But that's one of the ways that we would get. And then anybody that loves fundraising that wants to help us with a sponsorship plan, approaching some of the local businesses. We really don't want to, we feel like the Barclays in the corner and they all do so much already. So we don't want to go to them and ask them for, $100. It just feels, this is really a day to get people to them. But I think that there'll be ways that they can participate in this passport. But I think approaching some of the larger companies, the ShopRites, the Walkers and Walker Associates, to do some River Valley Realty, to do some of these other sponsorships would be the way to go. So that way there isn't fatigue of the local business owners.
Okay. Yep. It's promising, I liked it.
Do you think you might participate with your beautiful home?
I
don't wanna put you on the spot.
No, but I don't think you did, but.
We've already been showing off.
I actually think that Todd Cook has already twisted my arm. So
Good.
of course.
Yeah, thank you, thanks. Dennis and Maria Shove, as you know, they bought the former Main Street Manor. They have graciously agreed to put their beautiful home, which has been beautifully renovated, on the tour. So we know that that is definitely a hot spot. And Todd and Kristen Cook also graciously agreed to put their home. So we already, and we have new neighbors down the street on Pennsylvania Avenue who we met with yesterday.
Ken and Justin?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great guys.
So we're excited because we really do feel like I don't know how we're gonna top this tour in 2023. But it's sure to be a great day.
I've been on Lambertville and Princeton's tours because I used to live in Princeton,
Yeah.
so I've been on their tours. They do a really good job. They do a really good job. So yeah, I haven't been on, I wasn't here in that Flemington, but
Yeah, we
yeah.
raised the bar, that's for sure. So we'll,
You mean, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, well, that in Princeton, yes, of course.
Mhm. Thank you.
Another
Thanks.
question, just
Yeah.
a comment, thanks, this is good for Flemington, obviously, but. Get not just people coming in to see the houses, but like somebody had mentioned, your neighbors,
Yeah, yeah,
come on Little Old Attic Court. I'd love to see some of these houses,
yeah.
so absolutely, thank you.
Great. No, thank you. Thanks. I think we're really excited about this and, you guys have, those of you who know me, you kind of heard my spiel of like, I just feel like you move into this community and you feel like you're called to do something to be a part of it. And I think we're all really excited to be a part of this. So,
Agreed.
well, thank you.
Well, before we wrap up, I just want to apologize to Wendy. I know your last name is Zora.
Oh,
Where that came from. So I do apologize.
She answers anything. It's fine.
Yeah.
Dennis or Richard, anything you guys want to add?
No, you covered it all, yeah, thank you, yeah, looking forward to it.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I still need running text, by the way.
For me.
Good evening, it's 7:30. Today is October 24th, 2022. We did have a short work session. Some representatives from the HPC were here talking about the house tour they are planning for June 3rd. We're all looking forward to that as well. This meeting is being called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting is October 24th, 2022. was included in a list of meetings notice sent to the Huntington County Democratic Courier News in January 5th, 2022, posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on that date and has remained continuously posted as required. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public as required and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of Borough Clerk. If we could all stand. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The roll call, please.
Mr. Johnston,
Here.
Mr. Long,
Here.
Mr. Parker,
Here.
Ms. Rosetti,
Here.
Ms. Tilly,
Here.
Ms. Dryden.
Here. And Councilperson Jess Hand is excused this evening. I have a very short mayor's report. Last Friday, I attended and spoke at the Huntington County Economic Development Breakfast, talking about all the great things we have going on here in Flemington, as well as the generosity of the Huntington County Commissioners towards Flemington with frequent grants for the master plan, as well as money for the Harvest Festival and money in the past that we received for the fireworks as well. So it was good. It was a nice event. I think Jeremy may mention that Robin Lapidus did receive an award at that event. I also attended last week the Safe in Huntington, and I was there for a partial of the event, Safe in Huntington Candlelight Vigil at the historic courthouse. Also this evening, I am appointing Caitlin Giles McCormick to the HPC as alternate 2 member. And I also over the weekend attended the Addicted Chic 7-year anniversary in Flemington. And Mary was there, Annie's mom Mary was there. They've been in business for 42 years. They started up in Clinton. They've since closed the Clinton store, so Flemington's the only location they have now, and it's great stuff. And I have to go back and buy a sweater that I meant to buy that day, but it's kind of pressed for time, so I couldn't. So stop in and see Annie if you're around, and wish her a happy anniversary for all her great time in Flemington. This is the last meeting before the election, and I would also then like to take this moment to wish good luck to all the candidates running. We'll go next to, right down the line, we'll go to Malik Johnston to start off with.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Small report this week. For animal control, 6 dogs were picked up over the last month. All the dogs had no identification. So please license your pets, place the metal tag on their collar, it's the law. If anything happens to the pet, we can use it to reunite you with your pet soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Council President Jeremy Long.
Hi there, I've got a few things tonight. As far as the police department, there's some events coming up. As you might know, trick or treating will be taking place on October 31st. From 4 p.m. to 8 throughout town. Road closures may occur on Broad Street from Pennsylvania Avenue to William Street and Bunnell Street from Park Ave to Shields Ave. The road closures are dictated by the volume of pedestrians present on those 2 streets. All those streets will be open for vehicle and pedestrian traffic. We ask drivers and pedestrians to travel with caution. Here are a few safety tips to keep in mind. Walk safely, cross the street at corners using traffic signals and crosswalks, look left, right, left again when crossing, and keep looking as you cross. Put electronic devices down. Keep heads up and walk, don't run across the street. Teach children to make eye contact with drivers before crossing in front of them. Always walk on sidewalks or paths. If there are no sidewalks, walk facing traffic as far as to the left as possible. Children should walk on direct routes with the fewest street crossings. Watch for cars that are turning or backing up. Teach children to never dart out into the street and cross between parked cars. Join kids under 12 for trick or treating. Kids are mature enough to be out without supervision. Tell them to stick to familiar areas that are well lit and trick or treat in groups. And as always, if you see something suspicious, please say something, call 911 if you feel it's an emergency, and contact the police department right away, or call out the non-emergency number at 908-782-3434. I got a ton of FCP news. So this Thursday is the annual Kids Costume Parade on Main. That's the 27th between 5 and 8. It will take place between 9 and 12. The stores Ye Olde Antiques, Gift Horse, Fat Farm, and Sage and Attachment are participating this year. You can register online at loveflemington.com and then pick up a number in the store to pin to your kid's costume. Numbers can be picked up in those stores between Tuesday and Thursday. See more info on Facebook or loveflemington.com. Police department would like everyone to know to expect road closures starting at approximately 4 p.m. This Friday is a new event that the businesses on Stangle organize called Stangle Witch Walk, a strolling event featuring an annual witch dance. It starts at 7 near Within Spirit, and then an outdoor movie and open cauldron with libations from Lone Eagle and mulled wines at Bluefish, and a whole lot of surprises in between. This Saturday, the Hunterdon Harvest Fest is taking place. We have over 100 vendors in all but 10 from Hunterdon County, 8 local craft breweries, and 1 cidery. We have stages, crafts, great food and entertainment, and Safe in Hunterdon is the best beneficiary. All events are free and all are welcome. Grant news, our 15 businesses are working hard to improve their storefronts. Our 15 homeowners are also making their improvements. You should see improvements now. We will show before and after photos in December, so stay tuned. Holiday decorations, they are FCP is purchasing new large holiday decorations for Main Street and holiday boxwoods for all the planners on Main and Stangle. Snowflakes are on the way. The FCP was awarded Partner of the Year award last week from the Hunterdon County Department of Economic Development and Tourism for the significant number of partnerships initiated with the county and because they regularly demonstrate that they're committed to the economic growth of the entire county. The FCP partners on projects to deliver on that goal, said HCED Director Mark Salick. Most significant is the FCP's steadfast commitment and participation in the creation and launch of the Explore Hunterdon brand and associated media and marketing campaign this year. The FCP also provided input on the evolution of the 579 Trail, the Hunterdon Beer Trail, and the Hunterdon Main Streets. Some miscellaneous items. Last Monday, October 17th, I took part in a Zoom question and answer session with students in Mr. Georgios' class. Georgios is a CEA teacher, school teacher, I should say, sorry, at their campus at South Hunterdon. The students were working on some very interesting projects about cities. Part of their assignment was to interview an elected official, so that was me. They asked me questions about why I chose to work for council, what a council person does, what my hobbies were, and even what my favorite sports team was. And unfortunately, I had to reveal myself as a New York Mets fan. It was an honor to have spent some time with these students and to help them understand all of this town stuff a little better. Thank you to the CEA school and Georgios for inviting me into your classroom from one teacher to another. It was a tremendous honor to have helped. On Thursday, October 20th, I also attended the Safe in Hunterdon candlelight vigil. As council will recall, Safe Zone Laura Bavona presented about Safe during our last work session. It was a somber event with a survivor story. Organizations like Safe are obviously important for our residents and integral in ending stigmas associated with domestic violence. It was an honor to have been present there last week. On Saturday, I attended a 7th anniversary, as the mayor had mentioned, at Addicted Chic. And as mentioned, that's Annie and her mom, Mary, been running it for 42 years. We're fortunate to have such a long-standing Hunterdon business as part of our family of small businesses here in Flemington Borough. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Councilman Parker.
Yes, so I also attended that safe event last Thursday, which I thought was, I mean, it was done so well. Very special event. I had attended one of those before. And so I said something last council meeting to say that I would be reporting on something over the last probably 3 months, 4 months. I've actually been stopping people on the street and going into store owners, and I've been wondering what is going on in terms of what do you want in terms of getting engaged in coming here to the council meetings. And I found out a lot of information, none of which I'm going to go through right now. But I think the good news is that we're going to see an uptick of people coming in, and that is really reaching out to all communities. I also would like to see young people coming in here. I'd like to see, because I think it's an education part and they are part of the community. I think what the disconnect is that not everyone feels a part of the community. Don't know why, don't want to get into the reasons why, and I hope that that's water on the bridge. But it is about reuniting and getting people back in here so that they have a say so and they can hear exactly what's going on. Want to get rid of all these half-truths, because that's not doing anything but dividing, and I refuse to let the community be divided. We're just not going to do that. We're so much better than that. And I'm beginning to see that people want more. So I'm gonna continue to talk. I'm gonna continue to get people in here. I think you're gonna see a new wave of participation sooner than later. That's my good plan.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Next up is Councilwoman Liz Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, in my communications with Fire Marshal Ken McCormick, he's indicated that all is well in the world of fire safety. So good news there. They're holding their own with their current staff. The only things he did mention, they are still waiting to replace a 2003 Durango vehicle that's getting very tired. He understands though there's supply chain issues and getting a hand-me-down hopefully from the police is hopefully forthcoming, but you know, that was his one thing issue going on. For code enforcement, Dave Giuliani also is happy to report that anything major he's had going on recently has been resolved, and he's as always keeping up with anything minor. So thank you to both Ken McCormick and Dave Giuliani. Thank you.
Thank you. And wrapping up would be Councilwoman Kim Tilly.
So on the 18th, I had a meeting with the Flemington Raritan First Aid and Rescue Squad to discuss fees for non-town sponsored events. The 19th, we had an HPC meeting. We heard absolutely no applications. But as Mayor Driver mentioned, I want to welcome Caitlin Giles McCormick as alternate 2 to the HPC. Thanks again to Jen Williford and Wendy Orr for presenting information on the house tour that will happen on June 3rd of 2023. My pet project for the last 2.5, 3 weeks has been that Halloween candy donation and distribution. So I have some thanks that need to be said. Thank you to the following businesses: Lowe's, Northfield Bank, Promotion and Motion Company, BJ's, ShopRite of Flemington, Walmart of Flemington, Costco, and of course, Robin and the FCP. More importantly is to thank the following individuals that supported this program: Holly Adianza, Michael Humphrey, Janet Nader, Kristen Stryker, Dennis Show, Jennifer Fallon, and of course, now the Tilly family. Well, I did deliver some candy. It was very difficult to see your house numbers. Please make sure your house number is visible for emergency services if they are required or needed to your home. You don't want an ambulance driving up and down the street trying to figure out where you live. So just please make sure your house numbers are visible. The only other thing I have is that I believe the new water tower is fully operational. So we now have an extra $1 million, an extra 1 million gallons of water at our disposal. So that's it for me.
Which is important in case we have another fire like Turf Box. Which was
Absolutely.
the genesis of that whole new staff that was built. Thank you. That brings us to our first public comment section. I will note, I do see that several people here that I believe are going to be speaking at the public hearings. So if you have something other than the items for the public hearings, you can step right on up to the microphone. Or you can raise your hand.
Good evening, Marcia Karras at 21 Elwood Avenue. A quick question. I know that you're approving some executive session minutes tonight. And I've been looking back at all of your prior agendas and minutes, and I don't see any executive session minutes being released at all. And I did some research and I found out that in 2020, former Councilman Michael Harris asked the question about releasing all of the finished business as per the law when a matter is done from an executive session and is supposed to be released to the public. And I'll note that Courthouse Square settlement happened in November of 2021. All matters signed the document, and nothing has been released. Not any executive session minutes have been released. I can't find a single executive session minute going back years. So Mr. Harris told me that, Mayor, that you had assigned Kara to create a schedule as to when all of those minutes were going to be released. And I'd like to see that schedule as to when they were going to be released. I don't know if I have to Oprah that document or if you have any response about when they're going to start getting released.
Executive session minutes are typically released. We don't post them on the website. They're released pursuant to Oprah requests. And I believe I made it through, I want to say current. I don't think I did 2022 minutes, but I believe I made it all the way through 2021, creating, redacting where necessary and creating a privilege log for each set of minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can I get a copy of that log?
If,
An operable document?
yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
And Mike, I think I gave them to you all in like big, like one big
pack.
file,
It was a
yeah, one
pack.
big packet with the redaction log on top, so it should be
Just
easy to
remind
produce.
Oh, good, thank you.
If you're watching online and want to make a public comment, you can click on the raise hand icon. I don't see anybody who has called in. Michael,
Good evening, Mayor Driver, members of the council, members of the Flemington community. I just want to let you know that we're once again back at live for the Turkey Drop, the 30th straight year. Really pleased to be back in Flemington, and my associate Elizabeth and I will be here for the comment on the for comment if needed to answer any questions in the session coming up next.
okay, thank you.
Yes.
Just a moment in case anybody wants to hit raise hand before we move on. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. We have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 11, 2022 regular council meeting.
Tilly will move.
Hold a second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
Yes,
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
passed.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the executive session minutes of the October 11, 2022 council meeting?
Tilly will move.
Hold a second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
yes.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
passed.
Excellent. That brings us to our consent agenda, which does include the Turkey Trot street closures and refunding and overpayment for a fire inspection. They made the check out for too much money.
Tilly will move.
Hold a second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
Yes,
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
passed.
Excellent, thank you. We'll see you on Thanksgiving morning, Michael.
Excellent. Will you be around to start the event as you have in the past?
Yes, I will.
Good to see you then, and hopefully see everyone. And President Long, thank you for joining our students a couple of weeks ago and speaking with them. It's a great pleasure to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it.
That brings us to our regular agenda. First up is the second reading on ordinance 2022-20. This is a second reading and public hearing establishing a handicap parking spaces on the 200 Main Street property, which we have finally closed on. If we could have a motion to open the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
Parker, second.
Are there any comments regarding the addition of a couple of handicap parking spaces on the 200 Main Street property? And this is a necessary so that those, so that the police can enforce that handicap parking law. Seeing and hearing none, if we could have a motion to close the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
Johnson, second.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 20, or you call the vote, sorry. Too quick.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
yes,
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
Could we have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-20, second reading and public hearing establishing handicap parking spaces on the 200 Main Street property? Is
Tilly will move.
Hold a second.
there any discussion? Hearing none, go ahead and call the vote.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
yes,
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
passed.
Next up is ordinance 2022-21. This is also a second reading and public hearing, adding sections 1-5 to the Borough Code entitled Violations and Penalties. If we could have a motion to open the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
Hold a second.
Public hearing, go ahead and vote, call vote.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
yes,
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
Are there any comments, public comments about this? What this is basically, it just does some cleanup in our code, in our code book, our violations and penalties to just bring some items up to date. Seeing and hearing no public comments, could we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Tilly will move.
Long second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-21, adding section 1-5 to the Borough Code entitled Violations and Penalties?
Tilly will move.
Long second.
Are there any comments? Oh, you have to. Any comments?
No.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Passed.
Next up is ordinance 2022-22. This is also a second reading and public hearing, adding and amending lead paint and fire prevention code requirements. If we could have a motion to open the public hearing?
Tilly will move.
Second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
If we could have a motion to adopt on second reading, adding and amending lead paint and fire prevention code requirements, ordinance 2022-22.
Open to
What?
the public.
Oh, the public hearing. Oh, any comments? Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
We, hearing none and seeing none, if we could have a motion and vote to close the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
Long second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to adopt?
Tilly will move.
Long second.
Are there any comments, questions?
Just so I'm clear, remind me, this was something that was a state required.
Yes, we,
Okay.
you're required to inspect apartments for lead paint. And so the way, because we don't have someone on staff that has the proper certification, the borough will be providing a contractor. We'll have to go out for RFP on that to find a contractor to provide that service, and it'll be offered on somewhat of a regular basis. And then landlords, if the timing doesn't line up for them, or if they find it just more economical or quicker to get their own inspector, they are permitted under the statute and under the ordinance to do that, and get a proper certification. So it'll become part of sort of the rental certificate of occupancy process, when they're tenant turnover, applying for their landlord registration, we try to roll it into that process so that it's all cohesive, that it's not just a separate thing sitting out there by itself.
And if I remember correctly, so if, trying to recall this, but for people who are actually renting now, there is a cycle in which they get
Yes,
inspections.
it's every
correct?
3 years.
Okay, that's right. Okay,
And there are fees involved
Yes, and we
that the landlords will have to
The
pay
landlord
as
has
part
to
of the inspection
absorb the
process.
fees. We don't know exactly what they're going to be yet. We'll have to pass those by resolution when we talk to contractors, because the borough is required to do dust wipe sampling, which requires a wipe of every window and doorway. And so it's going to be a different cost based on every residential unit.
yeah, I just remember buying my house and I had to do that with all the rest, yeah.
Yeah, so we will, once we get a contractor on board, we'll come up with a fee schedule so people are aware.
That's extremely important, right? That's extremely.
Any other comments? Go ahead, call the
Mr.
roll.
Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Passed.
Next up is second reading as well in public hearing. This is ordinance 2022-23. This is a bond ordinance for various capital improvements.
Tilly will move.
Long second.
And this is the public hearing.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yep.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Open the public
Public
hearing.
hearing is open.
Marcia Kara, 61 Elwood Avenue. So there was somewhat, a number of people kind of taken back when the fire department came in regarding the fire truck. For Bill Hans to say that there was only $150,000 left in the capital fund. Because back in 2013, the fire department came before the governing body and let everybody know that in 10 years they were gonna need a truck. And in 2014, the capital fund started being funded with an extra $50,000 a year towards that truck. And it was funded thus so up until 3 years ago, when the capital fund only was receiving 10,000 for the last 3 years in a row. So there should have been about $500,000 sitting there. Unfortunately, for some reason, a line item wasn't established in the capital fund, which would have required the governing body to pass an ordinance with a public hearing to move that money. And there could have been comments and questions and concerns raised then, but it didn't happen. So $500,000 was spent on other projects that was dedicated for the fire truck. I don't have a problem with the fire truck, we need it. But I do have a problem with out of budget spending. So there seems to have been additional out of budget spending this year in the capital fund. And there's a lot of debt now being carried by the borough that's not paying any principal, just interest. So we have a bond out right now that's paying $127,000 a year towards debt. And we have bond anticipation notes now being paid $21,000 a year that pays no principal. The borrowing for the police department building, when you go out for a bond anticipation note, it's probably going to be about $35,000 a year. Because right now, bond anticipation notes, under current interest rates, are going for about 2.5%. Whenever you convert that to long-term debt, when you actually start paying the interest, the principal, it's probably going to be at least 4%. And then tonight's ordinance is going to be probably about another $84,500 in just debt, no principal. So we're looking at now $270,000 since 2020 in debt, which is at $40,000 a tax point, over almost 7 cents a tax point for every man, woman, for every house in this town, to cover all this debt with very little interest being paid. My comment is I'm really concerned about whether or not this council has actually done any capital budget plan for capital expenses that you're going to stick to and not say this is an emergency or, oh, we had a great deal that showed up over the next 5 to 10 years. And I also would like to see some kind of prepared schedule as to how all this debt is going to impact taxpayers over the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. That's what responsible budgeting does, especially with capital money. You don't just spend it.
Yeah, so
No, there's no time limit on
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Thank you. I'm wrapping up anyway. I mean, my concern is that nobody's looking out to how much this is going to impact future taxpayers and future taxes because it's not being scheduled out. Only your bond issue has a payment schedule, but all these other bond anticipation notes don't. And unless y'all figure it out, have your accountant do it, have your CFO do it, somebody does it so you can actually see what the debt impact is going to be to the taxpayers. It's not happening, and you can't just keep spending money because you're kicking the can of the actual principal down the line. I mean, right now you're borrowing and just paying interest, but those interest rates are climbing and you're not going to get the favorable rate interest rates you got in 2020 for a bond issue now, or even the bond issues, the bond anticipation note issues you got last year. When you go out again, and I also want to caution because you got $4 million on the books in spending that has not been issued yet. So add that and another 2.5%. Not been issued yet. You're encumbering money, but not necessarily spending it and issuing it. So I'm really concerned about this. Election aside, I'm concerned about all of this accumulated debt, and you all should be as homeowners and taxpayers.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? You have a motion to close the public hearing?
Tilly will move.
Long will second. Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
I think she said yes.
what she did.
Yes, yes.
There we go. Ms. Tilly?
Yes.
We have a motion to adopt on second reading ordinance 2022-23, the second reading bond ordinance for various capital improvements.
Tilly will move.
Long will second.
Is there any discussion? Questions? Bill is here. Call the vote.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
passed.
Thank you. Next up is another public hearing, second reading public hearing, ordinance 2022-24. This public hearing adding 2 crosswalks on Stengel Road.
Tilly will move.
Johnson, second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Are there any public comments about adding 2 crosswalks on Stengel Road? One of them is up near current FCP office on Stengel. The other one is down near Lone Eagle Brewery. It's kind of where the bump outs already are, and we have the ADA ramps there, and so they'll be adding it off of there.
Chris Robinson.
I see Robin's hand. Yeah, Robin Lapidus.
Thank you.
Can we turn the volume up on this? Hang on one second.
Sure.
It's on the side of that remote.
Hold on, it's over here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Robin. We should have some better volume now.
Okay, great. Thank you. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm Robin Lapidus. I'm the Executive Director of the Flemington Community Partnership, and we just want, I'm speaking for our group and certainly for property owners and business owners on Stengel who are very much in support of making Stengel as safe for pedestrians as possible. So we think these 2 crosswalks are a great improvement. And also, we did have a walk audit recently with Go Hunterdon, and the crosswalks and condition of crossing on Stengel was really a big concern for everyone. So I think this is terrific, and we thank you for moving this forward.
Okay, thank you. That's the right one? Yeah, okay. Uh-oh, okay, I didn't remember, thank you. Any other comments? We'd have a motion to close the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
It's the hand that was there.
There's a
Oh,
mute.
okay.
Long will second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Zeddy,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-24, adding 2 crosswalks on Stengel Road?
Long motion.
Tilly will move. Second.
Is Any comments or questions?
Just real quick, I don't know who asked this, but timeframe on this, like how long do you think this would take?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it'll take very long.
Okay. But definitely not for Saturday.
No.
Okay. I don't know, sometimes you get it.
It's all about Saturday.
Could we have a vote, please?
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Pass.
Next up is ordinance 2022-25, again, second reading of public hearing. This is implementing one-way limits on Corcoran Street and North Place. We could have a motion to open the public hearing.
Tilly,
Oh, second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
yes.
Public hearing is now open. Boy, lots of hands going up.
I think Robin stayed up though.
Okay. We'll go to Ms. Baldwin. Paula, if you could identify yourself and unmute.
Yes, hi, my name is Paula Baldwin. I am one of the investors in Sextant Group LLC. We own 2 lots. One of them is, well, they both have frontage on Corcoran Street. I would ask that you not pass this ordinance at this time. We are trying to develop the lots. We're trying to do something with them, and I see this ordinance as limiting the potential that these lots could have. There are not many lots in town that have potential for being developed, particularly not the size of these, and we would like to do something with them, and I'm therefore requesting that you table this ordinance at this time.
Thank you. Next up, we'll go to Nicole. Ms. Nicole, if you could please, thank you, unmute. You're up. If you could identify yourself and where you're from.
Hi, Nicole Bishop, 16 Corcoran Street. I actually sent.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Can you hear me better?
I think that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hang on one moment.
Okay. Better?
We're working on it. Okay, I think we should be good now. Thank you, Nicole.
To make it easier, I actually sent a public comment earlier today. If you could, someone can pull that up, what I submitted, and read that, so I don't have to go off the cuff, I would really appreciate that, because it kind of covers all of my questions about Corcoran Street. So if someone could pull that up and read it for me, I would greatly appreciate that, so I don't have to go on with this. Thank you.
Did you receive that? I know she wrote an email.
I sent it before 3 p.m., so it should be there. And I did get a confirmation that it was received and under the word count and whatever the requirements were.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I don't check the support. I mean, the public comment emails, and there's nothing forwarded to.
You have access to it. Nicole, we might need you to read that, please.
Can I forward it? Can I forward it to someone else right now?
Yeah, you can forward it to me and I can read it.
Forward it to M. Humphrey at Historic Flemington, or you can forward it to me too.
I'll forward it right to you right now, Betsy.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
While we're waiting for that, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna jump to Robin Lapidus, and then we'll come back to you, Nicole.
Thank you.
My hand was accidentally raised. I apologize.
So to send a receipt.
Okay, I received it, Ms. Stewart. So I will read this unless Mike, I should probably send it to you to read.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Thank you.
It has left.
Okay, I'll start the reading. I wrote to the borough and the mayor after last week's meeting regarding my concerns of the westbound one-way ordinance and requesting it be reconsidered to eastbound. One of those reasons being most traffic on the street seems to be through traffic coming westbound from Walter Moran Light. There's a decent amount of foot traffic on Corcoran from neighboring residents to students walking to and from two schools. And if we have the opportunity to reduce the amount of unnecessary cars driving on the street, that would be the safest option. Also, I believe it just makes sense for the flow of traffic to go downhill rather than up, especially considering snow removal. I also emailed after receiving the notification in the mail, which included the incorrect ordinance, therefore not providing which way the direction was being proposed. The next day, I received a hand-delivered envelope in my mailbox with the correct ordinance, but did not receive a response, as if the other residents were notified as well. The only response I received was the town engineer would investigate the direction of the street and someone would get back to me. I was also sent the traffic study, which, from my understanding, seemed to have some incorrect information regarding what date the report was done, where parking is currently allowed, and possibly missing data. My questions are, was the correct ordinance resent to all residents, and did that include people who have addresses on Park or Allen, yet have driveways on Portland? Second, is there a response from the engineer regarding the possibility of changing the direction to eastbound? 3, will there be parking on both sides of the street once the street is changed to one way? The last, in unrelated matter to Corcoran, but still a public comment, can you also please explain the status of the living wall at the circle, which appears to be abandoned mid-project? Thank you, Nicole Bishop, 16 Corcoran Street.
Excellent, thank you. So yes, I did forward your stuff on to the engineer. He did respond, and we can do either way, and I'm planning to discuss that once we get into council discussion of that.
Okay, so it will continue to be tabled then, as of tonight?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. We have to get into the council discussion to discuss as to whether or not council wants to make it eastbound or westbound.
Okay.
If you want to make it eastbound, it'll be amended, and then second public hearing would be held at the next meeting on November 14th.
Okay. And to the other questions? Do we know if everyone was sent the correct ordinance? I know someone put one in my mailbox, but did everyone get that ordinance in their mail? Because last.
Everyone on Corcoran and the cross street.
North.
Received a hand-delivered correct ordinance.
Okay. Did you send them to the people that live on Park Ave and Allen Street that have the driveways that?
Every residence that has a driveway that comes out onto Corcoran was given an envelope.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. there any other public comments? We could have a motion to close the public hearing.
Tilly will move.
On the second.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
If we could have a motion to adopt.
Tilly will move.
On the second.
So. Nicole, I got your email. I did send it to the engineer as well. He did state that either way it would work for that. I do understand and I do agree that it might be better to be eastbound. Once I took a walk around there and I watched some of the traffic flow as well. To go through there as well. My fear is that my biggest issue is that people coming up Park Avenue might want to skirt the light at Walter Perrin and Park Avenue.
Yes.
So that is a concern that they would want to move through.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, is that it's a lot of through traffic that's unnecessary
And
and,
yeah, I get it. The public hearing is over though.
okay, I'm
So
sorry.
now it's a council discussion, so. Okay. So I don't know if it got forwarded off the rest and my discussion with the attorney and Jerry was that if council believes it should be eastbound, and I kind of think it should, North Place would remain in that north direction. Part of the reason that this is necessary is we do have DOT funding to redo that road and the infrastructure under that road. So in order to get that done, the DOT requires sidewalks be put in. The engineering to just go in and redo that road and make that road passable, it's one of the worst roads in the borough. Really requires it to be a one-way street as well. And so that's the genesis of that, because it's simply, we can't fix that road if it remains a two-way road and fix that road according to DOT specifications, basically. So that's it. I am absolutely open to making it eastbound. It's not a problem at all. If we do that, we would have to amend the ordinance and then hold a second public hearing at the next meeting, which is in 3 weeks on November 14th. And I don't know what council thinks about it. The parking is actually not permitted at this point on the south side of Corcoran. That doesn't change with these recommendations. I know people do park there, but it's not actually permitted. It is in the ordinance, so there's no parking there. And for whatever reason, when that went into place, that was not signed properly, and that came out during the traffic study as well. The traffic counts, by the way, Nicole, were performed on June 8th, 2022, a Wednesday. And the engineer does say that performing traffic counts on a weekday between Tuesdays and Thursdays is normal. The field visit was performed on Friday, July 8th, 2022. And it's not necessarily have to be done on the same day as the traffic counts. The engineer does maintain that the traffic study was done correctly and thoroughly as well. Any other comments? Would council be interested in making it eastbound versus westbound as indicated in the
I have a question, just to clarify, so eastbound would be headed towards Park Ave and Walter Fran, as opposed to westbound would be towards, okay, just so making sure I'm seeing this the right way, thank you.
so it would head towards Park Avenue, and then people could make that little right jog onto the little two-way section of Park Ave, or that Park Avenue extension, for lack of a better word, and then make a left or a right onto Full Park Avenue.
Where would the parking then, if we flipped it, where would the parking be on the same side or the opposite? Like how, well, I mean,
It would be
actually,
on-
that's a stupid question.
Yeah, it'd be on the same side of the
Yeah.
north.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about another. All right.
I don't have any objection
Me
to
either. I mean,
changing it.
I think if that works better, then let's just do it.
Okay. Okay, so could we have a motion to amend the ordinance to make it eastbound and not westbound, and then northbound would still stay, or North Place would still stay northbound.
Tilly will move.
Johnson, second.
And then you need to, a vote to adopt as amended, and I'll go through with Mike the procedures on how you have that, then the kind of follow-up, what we call a follow-up public hearing at the next meeting.
Okay. So if you would call the vote on amending the ordinance. Eastbound.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Okay, that's scheduled for November 14th.
Okay. So do we vote on the amended ordinance or do
Yeah, and
we
then you have
hold
this
that?
have to, what you do is you pass it as amended, and then you have, but then it's not finally adopted until November 14th.
Okay,
You have, it's sort of. I
we've
call
done
it-
this once
Yes, we've done
before.
it once before, and you have sort of like a follow-up public hearing on the amendments next time, so then it doesn't become effective until after the next meeting.
But there is another public hearing. on it.
Yes.
There will be another public hearing. And at that point, if council decided to say no, would that kill the entire order?
Yes, that kills the entire.
Okay. So could we have a motion to adopt as amended, implementing one-way limits on Corcoran Street and North Place into the eastbound direction on Corcoran?
Tilly will move.
One will second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Okay, now it's November 14th.
Okay, so there will be a second public hearing on this, to go eastbound on Corcoran. That public hearing will be on November 14th, so it's a provisional approval. Is that correct, Tara?
I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So we adopted and then did we do the vote to?
Yeah, just if you did
Just
vote
did it,
it up.
okay. Sorry, there was all those votes.
We took 4 votes.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
We're still not.
I see,
You made your
I did-
primary
I did
vote,
track
and then
that.
Robert rules made your secondary motion within your.
Okay, good enough, thank you. That brings us to first reading, another ordinance, another crosswalk, first read ordinance 2022-26. First reading, this is establishing a mid-block crosswalk at Spring Street.
Tilly will move.
One will second.
So basically, this is part of the CUS project. There is, as approved on the planning board, a mid-block crosswalk where the garage exits, and the entrance to the surface lot is where the former Flemington Furs building was. So, and this is just conforming from the site plan approval on there. So if we could call the vote on the first reading to move it to a public hearing.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
That will be on November 14th.
Okay. Next up is ordinance 2022-27, again, first reading, this is an emergency easement for police department access at 200 Main Street.
Tilly will move.
Johnson.
So 200 Main Street requires, per Department of Corrections and Department of Justice rules, requires an emergency exit. We have worked out an easement agreement with the property owner on Route 12. It's the financial services building there, and Tara's worked that out. That is a no fee easement.
Yes, actually, Jerry and Mike, Jerry Harris and Mike Campion actually spoke with the property owner, and Jerry went over what maintenance obligation will be and things like that. So.
Gotcha. And this will not be used regularly. Will be gated and it's for emergency access. Could be a flood on Main Street, could be a fire, whatever. The police department still needs to be able to exit the parking lot out of 200 Main Street. So it's part of that.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
the public hearing on November 14th.
Great, thank you. Next up is resolution 2022-212. Authorizing the Raritan Township Engineer to submit a joint application with the Borough of Flemington for a stormwater technical assistance grant to conduct a stormwater utility feasibility study.
Tilly will move.
Almost second.
So, the township reached out to me, Karen Gilbert over there reached out about doing this joint study. There is money available through the DEP and others to study and encourage stormwater utilities. Because our stormwater goes through pipes that end up either at the wet weather facility or at the RTMUA facility, depending upon how much rain might be coming down, it was determined that we should probably do this together as well. And so they'll be picking that up as well to submit that application and hopefully receive a grant to conduct that feasibility study. Call the vote.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Okay, passed.
And you'll send that over to the township. That brings us to our second public comment section. If there are any members of the public that would like to speak, step right on up. If you are online, you can raise your hand. Baldwin is there. Ms. Baldwin, I see you have your hand up. Thank you.
Yes, hi, Paula Baldwin. I represent Sexton Group LLC. I did raise my hand when you were discussing ordinance 2025. I just wanted to let you know, we did not receive, to my knowledge, any hand-delivered information that the ordinance number had been changed, and we didn't receive a traffic study. Is that something that we should have received as a property owner on that street?
The stuff went out as a matter of courtesy to the residents there, so they knew that this public hearing was happening.
Okay, well,
Study, is available as part of the agenda.
okay, I mean, we are also taxpayers, so, you know, it's hard to look for it if you don't know it exists. And my other comment is, I know at least one other member of our group tried to comment. I'm not sure if you're having a technical issue. He told me he did raise his hand during the public comment. Did you see anybody other than me raise their hand?
I only saw you,
And Nicole?
Ms. Bishop.
Okay, okay, all right. I'm not sure if he's still on. He can raise his hand. I'll let him know and he can still comment. Thank you.
Yeah, the additional public hearing will be on 11/14.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other public comments? Do we have an attorney's report?
Very short. I think everyone knows we closed on 200 Main Street. So we're, proceeding with whatever needs to be done to get the police department in there as soon as possible. Additionally, for next meeting, will be on the agenda a developers agreement with the owner of what I call the Spice Factory building. I don't know if everybody calls it that, but the owner is now an entity called BSD Flemington Apartments. And council has not done a ton of developers agreements. You're very familiar with redevelopers agreements because of your redevelopment areas. So if you have any questions about that agreement, feel free to reach out. They're fairly standard agreements. When you don't have a redevelopment area, the developers agreement lays out statutory and ordinance requirements of the developer, such as all the bonds they have to post. It's for this project, there is an inclusionary component, so it sets forth their affordable housing obligations and the deed restrictions, and that they have to affirmatively market the units, et cetera. So it sets out obligations of the developer prior to construction, and in this case, some things that are some obligations that will be still standing after the construction is complete. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, because I know this is not it's not something you've routinely done probably in the last few years, but I can, based upon what I'm seeing on the planning board's agenda, you'll see a couple more of these
Coming up.
in the near future.
And that received a planning board approval in 2018.
2018, they got amended approval, and then it was extended statutorily because of extensions that the state provided under the Permit Extension Act. And now it's been acquired by a new property owner, and they appear to be really ready to go.
Okay. Got it. Could we have a motion to pay some bills?
Tilly, well,
No second.
Okay, Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
yes.
Yes.
We do have an executive session. I expect it to be very short. There will be no action taken. It's executive session to discuss potential amendment of the RDA contract negotiations for Liberty Village. Basically, it has to do with the Polo building and how that building will be handed over to the borough to become the next borough hall. And it's just some technical things. The owner would like to do that before the end of the year, and there's a couple issues that as part of that negotiation that council should be aware of and discuss before we have a vote on it at a future meeting. There will not be any action on this evening.
You do that.
You
Um,
know,
Could we have a motion to go into executive session?
Long will say.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
So if any members of the public other than Bill Hans could drop off so we could lock the meeting. Door open. Yeah. Open that door and
I said I was gonna lower this up, because now
let's
it's super loud.
unlock.
Yeah, all good.
There we go.
So, let me unlock. Hey, good evening, everybody. We are moving towards adjournment. We did have an executive session regarding the Liberty Village redevelopment agreement and the eventual acquisition of the Polo building, which is part of that redevelopment agreement. No action will be taken on that. No action was taken on that as well. We could have a motion to adjourn.
Tilly, well,
Parker second.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll hit end.